Boxing King Media in association with Box Raw. Dominic Ingle, it's been a long time. It's probably been a month since we last caught up. I'll tell you what was interesting, Dom, just bumping into one of your clients in the gym. You really are doing some crazy things to these guys that are hitting you up through Instagram and wanting to change their lives and the bodies especially.
Strangely enough, I had a guy who'd watched a few of my interviews through you, and he's not on social media. So he said he had to watch about 10 of your videos and find out what, how to contact me. And he managed to do it, and he chased me down through emails and everything by asking people. And his name's Rob the Roofer, and it's an interesting story because he used to be a boxer when he was a kid, very good from the Gloucester way, knows all the boxers down there, Chris Senegal, Johnny Melfer. And he messaged me, he's 47 years old, want to get in shape, and his transformation was unreal. He actually sent me a clip of him on a punch bag in his house, and his hands were so fast. And he wanted to get weight off, and in the space of 2.5 weeks, he lost a stone. He went from having a belly to having a six-pack. Fantastic transformation, and he's a big fan of your channel.
That's interesting. So somebody's watched a video back, picked up the the quick plug at the start, and they've changed their lives. And I suppose summer is literally a month or so away. If anybody wants to get in shape and lose like a stone, another guy that I've just met, he lost 2 stone in a month. Hit you up.
Yeah, and it's getting to the busy season now. Everybody's being in shape quick. If they can stick to the discipline, they can lose the weight.
Sound. And obviously if anybody wants to do that, hit up Dominic Ingle on Instagram and get your life changed. We're going to move on to the boxing, Dom. It's been a while since we last spoke. Joyce had his fight with Zhang. He lost. He was stopped due to eye injury after a few rounds. Were you shocked by that loss?
He was a tough guy, and I think if I'm right in believing that Joyce lost a bit of weight for that fight as well. The kid's obviously a tough kid, and you don't really see many Chinese fighters that tall. I wasn't surprised, but I think what did surprise me is that it's probably the first time I've actually seen Joyce in a fight when he's getting clipped, he's actually wobbling. But he can take a shot. He can take a shot, and then you realise that by taking a shot, he's allowing himself to get more damage. And before, where he's never really marked up, obviously the effect of all the fights he's been having in the sparring of stopping the shots with his face, the cumulative damage is now his tissues getting to the stage where it's getting thin, it's getting cut prone, and I think this is going to be a problem now in his career where he's not a spring chicken. I think he's 36? Well, all right, he's old. He's not getting any younger. And if you can't beat Joyce by knocking him out, well, you're going to beat him by, causing injuries to his face, because that's what he's stopping everything with. So it was a bit of an upset, but it wasn't a surprise, really.
He's reactivated the rematch clause. Is that a wise decision? And can he do anything to change that result?
Well, at 39, what other option has he got? He's got to beat that kid. He's got to turn the loss around. But I think in stages of that fight, I think he was beating the guy, and the guy just kind of dug in. And I think if the fight had have gone on a bit longer, I do actually believe Joyce would have won. I think that kid was gassing because he was resting for a lot of the round and then having bursts. But when he did burst, he was very successful in the burst. He was landing. He couldn't really miss Joyce with the backhand, and that was what was doing the damage. So. Joyce is going to have to really be on it for this next fight if he does. And, he's got to realise that, watch it back and think, well, if I just could have got a few more rounds in, he would have gassed the guy and he'd have beat him. So it'd be an interesting fight, but I think that's the only option for Joyce, really. To put himself back on the map, he's got to beat somebody who beat him.
Knowing, with your experience in boxing business side of things, Tyson Fury is rumoured to be fighting Zhang as well. Do you think that is a tactical move to get sidestep money, or do you think Joyce wants that rematch and Tyson may have to find somebody else?
You know what? I don't know which way it is, but like I say, if that fight ever happens with Tyson and Zhang, I've no doubt for 1 minute. Tyson Fury on his top game will make that kid look pedantic, to be honest.
Yeah, there was a comment that Eddie Hearn said, post his loss about Joyce. He basically said he's never beaten anyone elite. He's not an elite heavyweight. I know you've kind of rated Joyce for his ability and what he can do in the ring prior to that. Do you agree with them comments? What do you think of that?
He hasn't really beaten an elite heavyweight, has he? And he's left it a bit late in the day. Like I say, he's 39. He's not getting any younger. And obviously this, getting beat in his last fight, obviously, you've got to ask questions about that. So I can't say that Eddie's wrong in saying that, because realistically it's true. But it's down for him now to try and reverse that loss and at least get a big world title fight, because he hasn't had that world title fight yet. And at 39, he needs to be. So maybe the elite fighter he's going to have is the guy who gets in the world title fight. But he's kind of took the shine off him there, getting beat by Zhang. That's what's happened.
Do you think he could do enough to change the result in the rematch?
I think once you're prone to cuts, and it was a bad cut, I think it's going to happen again. I don't think they're going to be able to do anything to that face to stop it.
It was just swelling, I think, I can remember.
Well, but maybe he's fractured his... I mean, did we get a report on whether he's fractured his cheekbone or anything? Who knows? But that's always going to happen. It's always going to happen. It's not going. If he keeps getting hit on that shot in that particular place, it's going to keep swelling up. So it's going to be a case of this time, can he get Zhang out of there before his face swells up? That's what the plan's got to be.
Interesting stuff. And then moving on, sticking with the heavyweights, you will have seen a huge event that's been proposed. It's nothing official yet, but talks are ongoing. All parties have confirmed that the Saudis Skills Challenge are looking to stage an event in December, and on the same night it will be Tyson Fury versus Usyk and Deontay Wilder versus Anthony Joshua. So I'm going to start with AJ. A big talking point about AJ is whether he should take that interim fight, between now and December, because people are saying, the initial suggestion was that he would fight in July against Dillian White. So now it seems like there's a question mark whether he's going to take that fight or not.
I think the question with Anthony, where he is now and the fights he's had a win. He's had that first fight out of the way with his new trainer. And if it was me, I'd say to him, right, do the work in the gym, with Derek. Do the work in the gym. Take your time. Don't risk the injury. It's a big money fight. Maybe the biggest payday of his career. Why take a risk? It's a hard enough fight anyway with Wilder. So that's probably going to be his last fight. So put everything into that fight, and then, whatever the result is, be satisfied whichever way it goes, win or lose, and call it a day. Because it's a dangerous fight for Anthony Joshua, that fight, and he needs to be 100% on it. It's a long way off. Why bother taking a risk?
Could he beat Anthony Joshua? Because a lot of people are writing him off based on the Jermaine Franklin performance. Some people have said that he looked gun shy, but I've read other opinions where they've said he was trying different things out and he looked good, being more tactical about things as well.
Could Anthony Joshua beat Wilder? Is that what you're asking me?
Yeah.
Because you just asked me if Wilder could beat Joshua, but.
Did I say that? Okay. The question was, could Anthony Joshua beat Wilder? And then obviously based on the last performance as well, because like I said, there's two opinions to the last performance. Some are saying he was gun shy. Some are saying he was tactical and he looked good. He was putting new things into practice.
I think the fights that Wilder's had and the way Wilder is, he's what can I say? He's reckless when he fights. He's reckless, and Anthony Joshua isn't reckless. And he's got the reach. He's got the recklessness. He'll throw caution to the wind. He's got the power. He's got the, he'll get off the floor and he'll fight. And he's boxed Tyson Fury 3 times, something that Anthony Joshua hasn't done. So, and don't forget in those fights with Tyson Fury, he's been knocked out. He's been knocked down. He's won. He's drawn, I think, and lost, whatever. So, you got to give him full credit for how he is. I think it'd be a very difficult job for Anthony Joshua to beat Deontay Wilder. Very, very difficult.
Does he have the ability to do it, though?
I don't think he has the ability to do it, no. I think he could have a game plan. He's got a good trainer. There's a way to beat Deontay Wilder. And it's down to his team to plot that and to Joshua to carry it out. But the one thing is this. It's only going to take... He's got to do that for 12 rounds. He's got to beat Deontay Wilder. He's got to be on his toes for 12 rounds, because Deontay Wilder is one of those fighters who can take you out with one shot. Do you understand? Don't forget, he's managed to drop one of the probably, I'm not going to say the best defensive fighters, because Tyson Fury can ride shots, he can avoid shots, he can smother your work, but Deontay Wilder still managed to catch him. And I would say that Tyson Fury is a much more difficult opponent to catch clean than Anthony Joshua, and I can't see Deontay Wilder going to lose any power. So it's a very, dangerous proposition for Anthony Joshua, and I think the only way he's actually going to beat Deontay Wilder is to jump into him, stick to him close, overpower him, lean on him, hit him on the inside. He can't box him at a distance; he'll get done in. He's got to get on him, and he's got to completely bully him. So because Deontay Wilder doesn't have the best boxing ability, he's not got the boxing ability of say Usyk. So the only way to beat Deontay Wilder is to jump on him quick. As far as Anthony Joshua's concerned, he's got to use his strength, he's got to use his body weight, he's got to use every trick in the book, and take him out in his stride. And that's what Tyson Fury did with him.
Interesting thoughts. So you feel that he can do it, but he's got to box to a certain game plan.
Yeah.
There was an article written by a guy called Tom Hauser. I don't know if you've heard of Tom. He's been
Tom Hauser's been around a long, long time.
There you go.
Thomas Hauser, actually.
Thomas Hauser, yeah. So in short, he wrote an article basically advising Anthony Joshua to retire.
The guy said that.
Do you think that article's got any backbone to it?
I haven't read it, but Thomas Hauser is a very good, has very good analytical opinions when he looks at stuff. So I think I said the same thing. I think Anthony Joshua's got to a point now where his window of opportunity is gone. He's had his window of opportunity, capitalised on it, and now he's operating on a belief that he was at an elite level when there was a lot of elite level fighters around him and he wasn't. And now those fighters have come through. The environment's totally changed. It's a different environment. So, it's a dangerous game what he's in. He's had a fantastic career. And, fair play to him for chucking himself in the fights and taking the risk. But, in my opinion, I don't think it's going to end the way he wants it to. And, I'm all for people proving me wrong and the boxing community wrong and taking the chance and daring to be great, fine. You've got to do that. But there's also an end result to that after your career's finished, how you deal with that and how you live with it. And I think, personally, Anthony Joshua, he's had a win his last fight. If he's got enough money, never have to worry about it. You want to be around to spend it. He's a young man. He's a good role model for a large amount of people. Even take away the, spitting his dummy out after Usyk. That's just emotion. But he's proved that you can turn yourself around, and he has. And he has done a lot for British boxing. And I think I noticed when we did a talk about him last time, saying that he rejuvenated British boxing and people were arguing the point. There was nobody around. He brought the interest back to the game. He did. He packed out stadiums. He created a buzz. Eddie did a fantastic job building him up. But now you can't be at that level all the time. There's always going to be a downside to it. And I just think he's on the other side of the hill now, coming down it. And whatever he gets now is a bonus. But the main thing is that he's got to finish his career in a safe place where he can, help others, look after the people around him, spend his money what he's earned, and forget about having to prove it. He's proved enough, really, from where he came from, in my opinion.
Is it worth highlighting in his resume, because Eddie tends to mention that in every press conference, his resume, that he feels it's never got the recognition for his resume?
The recognition is in the bums you put on the seats and the money that you get in the bank. That's what you need. The recognition that people have turned up to watch him fight. They've packed stadiums out for him. That's recognition enough. That's all you need. And I'm sure he'll still even be, when his career's finished, people will respect what he's done. But that'll be no good if he's getting pushed around in a wheelchair or he can't string a sentence together. He's quite an articulate fellow when he talks. He's well presentable, he's well presented, and he could do a lot of stuff after boxing. There's more to life, than boxing. He's put himself in the firing line plenty of times and on the line, and especially when he boxed. The fights when he's been stopped, and he's picked himself up and brushed himself down and started again. But he can't do it forever. And, he's got to have a good, hard think about it. But don't forget, not only is he making money for himself, he's making money for everybody around him. And, people around you sometimes don't want the gravy train to stop, even if you're getting your brains bashed out. And the person who he's got to be concerned about is himself and nobody else.
Fair play. And then moving on, Chris Eubank Jr. Has activated his rematch clause. Obviously, there was a lot of back and forward regards to the Conor Benn situation. It seemed like he wanted that fight. Nobody knows for a fact as to why it fell through. A suggestion is that maybe the British Boxing Board were going to step in and sanction him. So he's chose to take the Liam Smith fight. So just carrying that mentality into that fight, do you think it's going to help him, or it's going to be an issue where he probably was looking at a bigger payday against Conor Benn? Now he's got to face somebody who basically stopped him in his last fight.
Yeah, he's going to fight. Well, I don't ever think that Conor Benn fight was going to happen, because you can't fight. You can't, if you've got a British license, you can't fight somebody who's been banned. So obviously somebody's forgot to dot the I's and cross the T's on that one. But yeah, so the other option is Liam Smith, and who knows? It'll probably be a repeat performance of the last one, because there's very few fighters, when they get knocked out, come back like it's never happened. They're always going to be a bit shell shocked. They always are, and he can make any excuse he wants. Chris Eubank, and there were rumours that he didn't train properly, and it was one thing and another. Well, that was the biggest fight of his life. Every next fight is your biggest fight of your life. And if he casually overlooked Liam Smith, is very, very silly, because I think I said before, they come from a fighting family. His brother fought Canelo, Paul Smith boxed everybody. Liam Smith, his younger brother, they come from a fighting family. So why would you overlook somebody like him? He's had a great career. He's been against Canelo. Do you understand? Liam Smith went in against Canelo, and I thought he put up a good performance. But so there can't really be an excuse. And he's just got better boxing ability, Liam Smith. He's just a better boxer all round. I've had people spar him. Junior Whittaker, Jason Quigley. He's a quality operator. Everything's dead basic, but everything's precise. He took his time. He wasn't fazed by Eubanks. Just walked him down and he picked his shot and he took him out. And that's, what's Eubanks going to do? He's not even got a proper trainer. It's like you've got Roy Jones, you've got, every Tom, Dick and Harry having their input. So he's got the same again. He's never listened to anybody all the way through his career, and eventually got found out against a smaller guy, but who was very, very, a very, very good boxer, and has been, all the way through his amateur career and his professional days.
Can he do anything to change the result? He has flown back out to Florida, I understand, to train with Roy, and he's got a British trainer with him, Anthony Brown, and I think Ronnie oversees things when he's back here. Can he do anything different to overturn that result?
Probably not. Has he ever done anything different? I think the only thing he's ever done different is when he started to train with Roy Jones. He tried to box like Roy Jones, which is like, once again, why would you do that? He's not Roy Jones. He's not even a resemblance of Roy Jones. So Roy Jones was a totally different machine to him. So I don't think he can. I don't think he's going to change that around. So only time will tell.
We've seen Billy Joe Saunders. He's announced yesterday or today, I think, that he will be fighting this year. I don't know if you've spoken to Billy recently. I know he has been on a weight loss journey. So do you think it's realistic for him to come back this year? And should he, if he does come back, jump into a big fight, or should he have a warm-up?
It's an ideal environment to come back, because there's no big names on the radar, really, in British boxing. It's 2 years since he boxed Canelo, and obviously, it just sprung to mind when I watched John Ryder against Canelo at the weekend, and I thought, well, it's 2 years. 2 years has gone since Billy boxed. That time's gone fast, and it's a lot of time out the ring. I mean, I'm not sure how old Billy is now. He might be 35, but it's a lot of time out, and if you can get the weight off. I saw a clip on your channel of him boxing when he won the super middleweight title, and I was there at that performance. It was great, good performance. And the thing with Billy is it's what motivates him. He's a fantastic boxer and a very knowledgeable boxer, but I think sometimes that's his thing. And I had several conversations with him about boxing and training and all these other factors, and sometimes fighters are their own worst enemy, and I think Billy has been his own worst enemy. If he'd have just stuck to his boxing and believed in himself at the time he needed to, I think he'd have been a lot further along. But it'll be interesting to see how he goes on. I know he's losing weight. He's obviously he's in touch with Greg Marriott, who used to do his nutrition, and I know they keep in touch, and they're always having conversations. So you never know. But I think his biggest battle at the moment is against the scales. And if he's really motivated to fight, if he really wants to fight, I'm sure he'll get that weight off easy. And I think that's where it is at the stage where he's at, just like the stage where Kell Brook was at, that you will train good and you'll get the weight off if you're motivated enough for the right opponent. For Kell, it was Khan. And, I'd be interested to see what weight Billy's coming back at, super middle or middle. I thought he was better at the middleweight, but who the opponent would be.
With his boxing style, would it be an issue, having to drop that weight? Because obviously for his boxing style, he need good set of legs. Obviously, I don't know how it works. So if you put on loads of weight in between fights, does it affect your motor skills? Because like I said, his footwork is one of his best assets.
Well, you'll find that it'll only, if he's carrying an extra 3 or 4 stone, it'll make his legs stronger. And when I trained Billy, we never actually did any leg work. We weights, we never did it because his footwork was great. He was very mobile, very fast. But it's the same again. I've got clients who can drop a stone in 2 weeks. I've got clients who can drop 2 stone in a month. So for a professional athlete, it shouldn't even be a problem, should it? Do you understand? And that kind of puts everything in perspective, especially when there's a big payday at the end of it all. That should be motivation enough. So, I've took weight off loads of fighters, and it's never an easy job. I don't think any one fighter I've ever trained has been an easy weight loss job. But yet I train normal people and they do very little exercise and they drop it like anything. And why is that? Because fighters will always find a way just to do enough, just to take a bit off and have a bit of a cheat. You know what I mean? I'll tell you the easiest fight, Kell Brook for Khan. That was the easiest kill ever made weight, and a weight that people said he wouldn't be able to do at the end of his career, and he was past that weight, and he's been up to middleweight, and he's boxed it over 11 stone. He's never going to get back down to that weight again, and he did. So, it's the motivating factor, and I think what Billy's got to realise is that, he's got to accept that you can't eat takeaways and enjoy yourself. You're in a prison when you're boxing, and if you're not in prison in your training camp, you're not doing it right. So, that's how it is. I hope he does get the weight off, because that is one fight I would like to see back, because at the minute, there's nobody's really impressing me, fighter-wise. I look at the people like the Ben Whittakers and all these prospects coming through. They don't really light up my fire, and I think, oh, that'd be good to watch. And the alternative is to, revamp and rehash fighters like Kell Brook and Billy Joe Saunders, who, Kell's 37 and he's still talking about having another fight, maybe. And, that's even the spectacle with Kell and Khan. Even a year and a half later or whatever it was, is still probably one of the most entertaining fights we've seen for quite a while.
Would there be any chance of you and Billy getting back together? I don't know if you've ever discussed it with him. I know, you guys had that performance in Canada with Lemieux, which a lot of people still rave about. Could we ever see you guys rekindle that boxer-trainer relationship?
They say never, but it's like things have changed. I've got other stuff to be doing these days. I found a niche in, getting weight off people. I'm enjoying that. I'm enjoying the time I've got to myself. I come in the gym. I'm mentoring my nephew Luca, who's training fighters. Kid Gallard's training fighters. I've got other people in here training. I'm mentoring them, because this gym's going to go on, way after I'm dead. So I'm actually more interested in, making sure the name lives on. It was my dad's wishes, that this gym went as long as it could. And I said to him, yeah, we'll keep it going as long as people are interested in doing it. And at the stage I'm at as a trainer, I really only want to train elite level fighters. I've got a couple of guys who are coming through, two prospects, Mo Saban and Brad Goldsmith. They're very dedicated kids. They're good prospects. It's going to be a slow build with them. I think they'll do really well, but that's about it. I'm not really investing my time in anybody else. But if an elite level fighter comes who wants to train, yeah, I'll do that. And like I said, never say never. But Billy's always had his own agenda. He's always had his own ideas, and that's down to him. He's got enough money. He's made a fortune out of boxing, and in business, he's done well. But maybe this is just after watching John Ryder at the weekend, and I said to Billy, and I said to a lot of people at the time, Billy Joe Saunders in his day on top form would beat Canelo, because once a fighter gets beats like Canelo, they change. And when Canelo got beat, do you understand? The first time he got beat, everything changed. And his performance at the weekend against John Ryder, John Ryder, I messaged John, I said, you've done exceptionally well because nobody gave him a chance. And he got off the floor twice, I think, got his nose broke and still stuck in there for 12 rounds. And I remember years ago, John Ryder being on a training camp with his sport, Curl, his sport, Billy. And he was on about packing up. I went, John, just keep going. Whatever you're well and fit, keep going because that's the way you win in boxing. He might remember the conversation, he might not. But he's never looked back since. He dug in. And when he got beat and people threw him to one side, he dug in, he stuck with Tony, and Tony stuck with him. And I hope he got a couple of million for that fight because he deserves it.
Well, that was going to be the next thing I was going to move on to. John Ryder showed a lot of heart. Not many people gave him a chance. I saw a lot of predictions suggesting that he'll get stopped mid to late rounds, and he showed a big set of nuts, like you said, broken nose, and he carried on. Just that gym as a whole as well, and the work that Tony Sims is doing. He's got some brilliant talented fighters. We've seen Joe Cordina recently put up a brilliant performance and win his world title back. I've seen a lot of stuff on Twitter and people have spoken about it, and Joe Cordina, when I spoke to him recently, and he was quite upset about the fact that people are accusing him of, messing about with PEDs, etc. And people are kind of casting aspirations on the entire gym now, and Tony Sims. Now, the reason I wanted to bring that up is because I know in the past you've had it the same, where people have accused you and your entire gym just because of one fighter, something's gone wrong with one fighter. Any advice for Tony and the fighters in that gym, and just, you're looking back at that whole situation?
I just ignore it. Ignore it. It's like, people will always talk, let them talk. And it got to a point, and I think I've said it before on an interview, it got to the point where people were phoning up UCAD anonymously. And we were having squads of drug testers coming down here to test as many fighters as they could, randomly. And you know what came back from that? Absolutely nothing. Do you understand? And you're never going to stop speculation. And I know Tony, and I've known him a long time. Yeah. So, my brother speaks to him all the time, John. They have conversation. I don't particularly talk to Tony a lot of times. But, because Conor Benn, who's an individual boxer, has failed a drug test, it's got no reflection on anybody, only Conor Benn. That's it. He's the responsibility for that. So, any trainer, talking about Tony, it's like that's the only time it's happened in his gym. And how long's he been training people? Do you know what I mean? So you think that the probability of other people failing drug tests, if that were the case, would be a lot greater than just Conor Benn. So, my advice for Tony is just ignore it, because keep doing what you're doing. You're being successful in what you're doing. You're producing good fighters. Joe Cordina were a quality fighter. I can remember going up here years ago. In his first couple of fights, he came to Sport Kid Gallad. You could tell then. Very, very good fighter. Same with John Ryder. John Ryder didn't start with Tony. I had a few fighters fight him, in his early career. Very good quality fighter, John Ryder. Through the amateurs, through the pros, always conducted himself well. Quality fighter. Done the work, come back from defeat. And proved let people talk. But, that's, maybe the trolls or whatever they are. But unless about 3 or 4 people failed drug tests in Tony's camp, I think it's safe to say, he just lies with Conor Benn, that one.
And so I want to speak to you about Peter Fury. I spoke to him recently, and he was quite loud about it's a completely different topic to boxing, but I'll quickly touch on it. His concerns with regards to society and how social media is feeding kids certain agendas, and I think his main worry was that in schools, young kids are getting taught about sexual education, all that sort of stuff. And the reason I ask your opinion about all that stuff is because I know you and your dad have worked with a lot of kids in this gym from a very young age to educate them about respect and treating people fairly and all that sort of stuff. With that aspect of society, what do you think? Do you think it's right to teach kids that sort of stuff at such a young age?
What we're talking about here, transgenders.
Yeah, basically all that sort of stuff that the world's moved on now.
I always have to refer back to Tyson Fury when we talk about this thing, and I suppose this is the way I suppose you can voice your opinion without anybody be able to come back. And there's a church across from this boxing club where we all went as kids. We all had to go to church, and we were all in the choir, and we went through the lot. So if we're going to talk about that aspect, is Tyson Fury can come out and say anything he wants about gays, transsexuals, everything else, because he's a Christian. and nobody can pull him up on that. He can say what he wants. He says, you know, they shouldn't be gays, they shouldn't be this, they shouldn't be transgenders, and nobody really can pull him up because the Queen and King Charles are the head of the Christian church in the UK, in England. And it says that in the Bible. So if you're going to go by the word of the Bible and the word of the monarchy, well, really none of that should be allowed, and it certainly shouldn't be taught in schools. My opinion, look, if people want to do that, well, you do it between yourselves, between consenting adults, but don't be putting your worldview on kids under the age of 18. And when they get to 18, my dad used to say to me, when you get to 18, you can do what you want. You come to the legal age. But until you're 18, you'd have to do as you're told. Right? So it's not something I would ever accept. And I talk to my kids, and even if my kids are getting taught that in school, that you should accept this and accept that, they'll only accept what my view is. And I think my view is a balanced view. So they can try and teach my kids anything in school, because when they come home, the home environment is that my kids get taught by me. You see, they get taught by me. And that brings me back to a time actually when Billy was here, and he actually got into a bit of a trouble down Meadow Hall, because we had a situation where we had somebody who was a transgender or whatever, and I think Billy said something out of turn, and we had the police show up at the gym because I think Billy made a comment about somebody in a dress who was a man working in a shop. And, you know, if that's his view, that's fine. But now we're actually getting told, you know, what we should think and what we should believe, and it's never going to happen, you know. If we just stick to the word of, you know, and it's probably the same in Islam. You know, I don't know. But, you know, I'm a Christian, and personally, I keep my opinions to myself, and everybody's entitled to do what they want to do, but they're not going to force that opinion on me or my kids or, you know, anybody I'm associated with. And, you know, if they're right, if people come to me and say, what do you think? I'll tell them straight. I don't particularly agree with it. But if they want to do it behind closed doors or whatever, you know, I'll call a man and a woman, that's it. I ain't actually seen that interview with Peter. I know he's straight talking. You know, that's the way it is. You know, and that's what school we're from. We're the same age, I think, me and Peter. So we're old school, but, you know, that's how it is.
Interesting stuff. I want to quickly touch on Ben Whittaker. You mentioned him earlier. We saw his debut at the weekend. You will have seen his ring walk. You know, it was a tribute to Nazi Mohammed. I want to clarify that because I think he's getting a lot of people saying, "Oh, you copied Naz," but he did it as a tribute because he's been told over the years that he fights like Naz, and he said in a post-fight interview that he'd actually not watched a lot of Naz, so he started watching him and he was impressed by his showmanship, etc. And he wanted to do a tribute, and he got himself an Adidas deal as well, like Naz, and he went all out.
I'd be interested to know what that Adidas deal is, to be honest. I mean, Naz got a fortune off him. But it's funny that, because I looked at that introduction. It's like when I was a kid and I wanted to be Superman or Batman, what I used to do is I used to get a towel or a sheet off my mum's bed and tie it around my neck so I got a cape, and I convinced myself I were Batman or Superman. And when I saw that ring entrance and that curtain thing fell down, it was still hung up on one corner. It was nothing like the Nazim Mohammed ring entrance. It was like a very, very bargain basement kind of introduction. And knowing Naz like I did, I think Naz would have laughed. And he might have actually been insulted if that was a comparison to how Naz made his ring entrances. And the thing with Naz is, Naz orchestrated his own ring entrances. He devised them himself from what I remember. He didn't copy anybody else. So, you know, Ben Whittaker wants to think about being Ben Whittaker instead of being somebody else or doing tributes to other fighters. I don't think Naz would be even interested. And talking about him as well, you know, the showboating's all right, you know, do the show, but if you've got a bit of substance behind it and knocking out stiffs, you know, showboating then knocking out stiffs, well, start showboating in front of people who are really, really high quality operator fighters.
You know, just a counter argument to that, didn't Naz, his first 10 odd fights, he fought, you know, journeyman, so to say, and he kind of showed the same showmanship, backflips and all that sort of stuff.
But it's a bit different, because the thing is, when Naz boxed his first couple of opponents, they weren't on big shows like Sky. He wasn't on Sky when he first boxed. He boxed in Mansfield Leisure Centre, and they were taped on some obscure channel from what I remember. It wasn't national. And he flipped over the ring and he did his thing and he postured a little bit, But then the opponents he stopped, he punched holes in them, mature men. You know what I mean? Seasoned journeymen who knew how to get with, who've been through with top class fighters, not people with 6 wins and 3 losses boxing nobodies. He'd been in with seasoned journeymen who knew how to get through rounds. And one of those was a guy called Des Gargano, and he actually, I think he did the distance with Naz the first time, and then Naz stopped him the second time. So, but then you think about Naz's big breakout fight. Was an Italian guy for the super bantam European title, and this kid was a seasoned fighter, and Naz absolutely showboated like mad. But he dropped the kid twice, he punched holes in him and did the business. There was some substance behind the showboating. I kind of get the impression with Whittaker, there's a lot of flash and showboating and not a great deal of substance. Do you know what I mean? So if you can do that at an higher level, fair play to him, but I don't think you can.
You don't give him a chance against, Dan Aziz, Boazzi, Lyndon Arthur, Anthony Yard, because he's planning to gate crash that division within the next, say, 5-10 fights.
By the time he great crashes that the division, they'll have all probably retired, because he's doing what, 4 and 6 rounds, and they're like 10 and 12 round veterans. So if you said to me now, and if he was that confident about himself, and he's what age, he's 25, and he's had a good amateur career, well, if you think you can do it, jump in with them now and do it. That's the kind of test you have to give yourself. If you think you're that good, yeah, then go in and do it. Not another 2 years down the line. How many more stiffs are you going to be knocking over? It's all right doing that in showboating when you know you're not, but there's no danger to you. But try doing that at a top level.
Interesting stuff, Dom. The last thing I want to speak to you about, it's been in the news the last couple of days. One of your former fighters, also known as cult leader, Tyan Booth, he obviously made some comments. Obviously does his stand-up comedy gig live on YouTube, 2-3 times a week. He made a specific comment about a 3-year-old and wanted to do a review of it, and the comments he used obviously got escalated, put on Twitter, and I've done millions of views. And obviously he's had a lot of fighters come out and obviously condone them comments. You've obviously known him a long time. I just want to get your initial reaction to seeing that video and what you think of the overall situation.
I don't watch Tyan stuff. I know he does some kind of outrageous stuff, and I've had the pleasure of training Tyan, if it can be called that. Or some people might think, well, why is that a pleasure? And I've had a lot of time around Tyan. I don't actually watch that video, even though people have told me about it. I've not even surfed through to try and find it. I'm not particularly interested on what the comments or what the reaction is. It's just something what's not on my radar. All I will say is, I think I've heard the word nonce being bashed around and everything else. Obviously, there's been a thing going on with him and Coogan for a long, long time. So, maybe it's just another way to get Coogan's goat or whatever. I don't think Tyan's a nonce or is interested in children whatsoever. He's got kids of himself. He's in normal heterosexual relationships. So, them kind of comments, I think if you're that way inclined, I don't think you're really going to be making them kind of comments on camera. Not that I even know what he said. I'm only listening to what my nephew's coming in and said, have you seen this, have you seen that? I went, no, I don't watch that stuff. It don't interest me. So, he's a bit near to the bone, near to the knuckle, whatever he does, and he's going to have to, take the flak from that, whichever he wants to do it. So, I think, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before, one time I got a call off Cole Froch. Dominic, where does Tyan Booth live? I went, why? Oh, he's been saying stuff about me and my missus. I went, is it true? He went, no. I went, so why are you bothered? He says, you're living in a couple of £1 million house. So you got the world at your feet. You're one of the top boxers in the world. I said, and you're concerned about Tyan Booth, who's probably living in a bedsit somewhere in Sheffield. Why would you be bothered? He went, you know what, you're right. So, why would you be bothered? Why would Coogan be bothered? It's like, it's the reaction of everybody else being, that's not right. No, it's not right. You shouldn't make them kind of comments, but he has. And whatever comes back for that, it's going to be on him, innit? People have got their opinions. There's a lot worse stuff going off in this world that people don't have an opinion on. and maybe they should concentrate more on that instead of somebody who could be classed as really insignificant, you know, in as things stand. He's not boxing anymore. He's doing his own thing. He's trying to create a name for himself. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but that's what he's doing. So, you know, he's used that platform to get himself out there, and he's making controversial comments. Because if he wasn't making controversial comments, nobody would be listening to him and buying his YouTube or however you monetize what he does. I don't know how you monetize it, but he's obviously making money. Coogan's doing the same thing on IFL TV. Whatever he's doing, he's monetizing it, and he's probably said things he shouldn't have said. But everybody's got a level, haven't they?
Well, I appreciate your thoughts on that, Dom. It's been a pleasure. I will let the fans know that it's your dad's 5 years anniversary this May 25th. It'll be 5 years since your dad passed, and we've got something special planned, a really deep, insightful chat, and hopefully you're going to tell us some stuff that you've never shared about your dad before, and hopefully want to get that out probably that week, just a few days before the 25th of May.
And to, you know, paraphrase one of his quotes, where's the time gone? Where's the last 5 years gone? It's, you know, it came up on one of my photos. I've got, I think, his birthday before he died, the year before he died. I've got a little video of him, which is quite good, so we'll probably share that one.
Good stuff. I look forward to it. Dominic Ingle, as always, thank you very much for your time.
No problem.